I'm here today making a video that I hoped I would never have to make, at least not nearly this soon. The other day, my mother passed away. I'm making this video for a number of reasons. One, to kind of deal with the emotions that I've been having. Two, just to kind of let everyone know what's going on, what happened exactly, why our videos might be a little sporadic over the next week or so. And maybe most importantly, I wanted to share my mom's story. Just an amazing woman who was pretty much the reason I am the man I am today. So, my mom had contracted COVID at the beginning of the year. It was a tough battle. She almost lost her life dealing with it. She was on a ventilator for the longest time, sedated for over a week, I believe. But she was able to kind of come back from that. She was able to breathe on her own, and she actually beat this virus. She was getting better, just kind of going through facilities, kind of downgrading her care as she went. She ended up in this last facility, which is kind of like a group home, not really a medical facility. But it was there that she, was supposed to work on the last little bit of her care. Her voice was coming back. She was able to eat on her own, drink on her own. Her arms were pretty weak coming out of it, but she was able to kind of regain some strength in her arms. But her legs were really the weakest. So she was kind of bedridden, and she couldn't really get up. But it looked like seemed like she was on the road to recovery. Then, as we were working on our last course, about 3/4 of the way through, I got a call from my brother. They had a nurse come and check her out because they were thinking that she had got pneumonia. When the nurse had checked her out, she said there was no pneumonia, but her health had taken a complete 180 degrees, and the nurse said that she was transitioning. So we did a video call, and I was able to see she was not responsive at all. So apparently she had stopped eating, she had stopped drinking, she couldn't swallow anymore. I could not believe it when I got that message. I mean, up to this point, it seemed like she was on the road to recovery. So unfortunately, after I got that call, I couldn't leave right away. I had to finish up this last course. I had to make sure the bags were filled, that they were tamped. I couldn't just leave them that way because I didn't know how long I'd be gone. But as soon as I finished this up, I took off to the Phoenix area immediately. Being there with my mom at this point is it's definitely one of the hardest things I had to experience. Seeing her like that, just being so unresponsive, having that stare, it's just very shallow breaths. It was difficult to see. I felt helpless. There's nothing I could do at this point to help her get better. The best thing I could do at this point was just be by her side and try and make her as comfortable as possible. I held her hand, just telling her how much I love her, telling her how much she meant to all of us. I just tried to keep her comfortable. I did this for one day and a couple of nights. That Friday morning is when she took her last breath. It's difficult to have to be there, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. This woman has done so much for me during my life. The least I could do was just be there in those last moments, holding her hand as she finally slipped away. I'm going to choose to remember her how I want to remember her, with the strength she had and her heart. I want to talk a little bit about, who this woman was. Talk a little bit about her life. She grew up with a large family, lots of brothers and sisters. She didn't have very much when she was growing up, and she started working when she was young, very young. She would work hard most of her life. She had 2 marriages. With her first marriage, she had my brother, and then about 11 years later, with her second husband, she had me. Both of these marriages were absolutely riddled with addiction and abuse. And this woman found the strength and courage to leave both of those marriages. I can't even imagine the kind of fortitude, the kind of courage it takes to kind of leave a situation like that for the good of the children and raise 2 kids by yourself. It couldn't have been easy. It definitely wasn't easy. She had to work sometimes multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Things got a little better when she was able to kind of qualify for income-based housing. She got a job working for a hospital as a patient transporter, which is very difficult work, and it wasn't very much pay. But she made it work. We were definitely poor. We didn't have a lot. It was just a 1-income family and not much of an income. And this lady must have performed miracles because, when I was younger, I didn't even realize quite how poor we were. She did amazing things. I had a lot, considering. She even made it possible to take annual summer trips. We lived in Wisconsin. We would often go to, the Wisconsin Dells when we were younger. And I don't know how she pulled some of these things off. I think as kids, we never realize how much our parents sacrifice for us. And that's kind of how it was when I was younger. And one regret I have is not recognizing that sooner. I hear this woman, she had to work a full-time job, very hard. She then had to come home, do a lot of the cooking and the cleaning and taking care of us. Eventually I realized exactly, I don't know if I'll ever realize the extent of all the things she was able to do, but, I appreciated it so much, and I let her know. I took that time and I let her know just that I knew what she did and about how well of a job she did. I tried to let her know how special she was. Eventually, down the road, I had the privilege of having her be able to stay at our place with Jess and I in our first house in the city. She stayed with us for a number of years, and we tried our best to care for her and make sure she was comfortable there and just give her a good place to stay with family. It wasn't until we decided to make this venture on our property here that eventually we had to separate. She was able to stay with my brother. My brother's definitely one of the big heroes in this. He definitely looked after her real carefully there in those past few years, and he did so much when she was sick, taking care of everything, handling all of her business. And he has 2 kids of his own, so he had definitely had his hands full. And he, if anyone's learned the lessons from my mom, it was him, and he exemplified those characteristics extremely well. Just an amazing job. Everything I am today, I owe to this woman. Part of the drive that fuels me into completing this house is part of just from watching her work, from watching how she lived her life, just really instilled on me that work ethic that I have today. I know she was proud of all the things that we're able to accomplish out here. I know she watched regularly, and I really wanted to be able to bring her down someday and bring her into our finished house and just see this thing complete with her own eyes. And that's gonna be tough. But I know she's still watching us and she's still looking after us. She'll still see the build from where she's at. But when this house is done, it'll definitely stand tall as a monument to her. My brother told me after she had passed that he feels she had just gone way too early. And, I believe that her family has longevity. It feels like it's just definitely too soon. But I am grateful that she didn't go in the hospital. I'm grateful that we had that extra time with her to be able to visit with her, that I could be there when she passed, holding her hand rather than being alone in the hospital. I couldn't even imagine that. But as much as we miss her out here, we're going to have to pick up, carry on, keep building the house. And I know my mom will still be watching out after my brother and I, after our families. I hope I can make her proud. I hope she sees my continued efforts out here, and I hope that I keep continuing to be the man that she wanted me to be. I don't know exactly what's happening, what's coming up. My brother and I are going to have to handle these last bit of business. But I thank you all for your well wishes when she was sick. I appreciate you having patience as we deal with this and we go through this. And it might take a little bit before everything necessarily gets right back on track. We really appreciate all of you and the kindness you've showed us. And thank you so much for that.